Welcome back, everybody, to Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast. Also heard on the radio, 101.5 KDON and 840 KXNT in the lovely city of Las Vegas. Yes, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. Those Raiders who are now 2-11 since we last spoke to you on the postgame show. Of course, the Raiders lost to the Broncos at home to lose their 11th straight in the division and their 7th straight this season. So it's a tough sledding for all of you out in Raider Nation. Scott Gulbransen back with my partner, Moe Moton. Mo's senior NFL writer at Bleach Report. Also, Raiders columnist up at sportsnot.com. You can follow him on X at Moe Moton, MOEMOTON. I am at LV Gully, the show, SNB today. Okay, Mo, the game did not go much different than we thought. We thought it would be a little closer. Pete Carroll, who clearly had some money on the game, kicked the late field goal. I'm kidding. I know a lot of people think that. I know that helped you, Mo, because you had the 7.5 spread there. So it worked out for a lot of you folks, i.e. a bad beat for some people. For sure, Pete Carroll explained it on Monday, saying that, well, we wanted to get down there and get close. But when you look at the clock, I think you can just throw that into the Pete Carroll experiment not working yet again in every possible way. But nonetheless, what we did see out of this game, Mo, was we saw Caleb Rogers play the entire game at right guard. He played really well. Jack Besh got an opportunity, especially when Kenny Pickett came in for the injured Geno Smith. And listen, I know I was all for benching Geno Smith a long time ago, but I don't like to see anybody, I don't care who it is, get hurt. So hopefully he's okay. We'll send that out to him. And I know for the Raiders to keep the draft position, which we'll talk about a little bit later, it would be good for Geno Smith to get back in there maybe and play as he's been playing. So, well, let's get into this, though. We heard, I think a lot of fans and a lot of our listeners, which we'll hear from in the last part of the show around playing the young players, is, see, you should have played these guys a long time ago. And there is something to that. At the same time, when it comes to Jack Besh and others, we don't really know whether or not they were ready earlier or not. We were told they were not. And with the lack of trust and transparency and sort of the lean towards favoritism from this coaching staff, I understand why fans don't believe that. But talk about, in your mind, I thought Caleb Rogers did really well. You look at his number, he allowed 3 pressures, no sacks in this game. And I thought for a guy really getting his first full go on the offensive line, he did really well. And yes, I would have liked to seen him weeks ago.
Do you blame fans for being cynical when
No,
the coach staff told us, yeah, Jordan Meredith is the best center on the roster? when they told us, when they alluded to, Pete Carroll had a press conference, I remember that alluded to saying, if the players have to prove it, have to earn their snaps at practice. Now, he didn't say that these guys had poor practices, but when you hear that comment, it leads you to believe that, okay, they're not doing well at practice because they're not earning the snaps. It's up to Pete Carroll to clear that misconstruement up, and he did. So
Right.
People are going to draw their own conclusions. If you're not going to share the truth about what's going on, then people are gonna I don't want to say make it up, but come to their own conclusion. So I don't blame people for not trusting this coach staff and what they say about, he's not ready. And then when he's on the field, you're like, wow, looks pretty good. Maybe he should have got on the field. Maybe not, at week 1 starter, but 2 weeks ago, maybe couldn't have hurt. When you knew your season was basically over, because as a lot of people said, we've said, what did they have to lose?
Yeah.
So
and I think most people were in that boat, Mo. And look, Murph and I talked about on the postgame show. He, as a voice of the fan, really nailed it on the head when he said he's heard more from Raider fans this season. And he's been a Raider fan. He's a Bay Area kid originally. He's been a Raider fan his entire life. And he said, I've heard more people this year because of the lack of trust and in the organization and what has happened this year and transpired over the last couple years, that some people are ready to check out. Now, as I said, I don't think they'll abandon Raider Nation. I've never seen Raider fans really quit. But to your point, we've been told, and they've been told repeatedly from the staff, things that just seem to be untrue. And Caleb Rogers' performance, Jack Besh having a nice little run in the game against the Broncos, seems to prove that. So it's like, wait a minute, you told us these guys weren't ready, but now they get out there, and you can't tell me they just got that much better in practice. I know some people will argue that, but when you're sucking wind and you're one of the worst teams in the NFL, to me, there's no excuse to try something different.
Right. So you're trying to tell us that all of a sudden you just put them in at the perfect time and they're just playing great football at the perfect time. Oh,
Right.
yeah. You know,
Right.
of course they'd want you to believe that. The other side of it is the other side of the argument is maybe they should have been out there. Now Pete Carroll is finally starting to adjust to the team being 2-11 and being far, far from the playoff picture and the expectations that he had. And he had no other choice but to put these guys out there because of injuries. Let's remember that JPJ is out with an ankle injury. Yes, they have Antonio Mafia out there, but they drafted Caleb Rogers in the 3rd round. Let's remember that Dante Thornton Jr. was out in concussion protocol last Sunday. So there were more snaps to go along at wide receiver. You saw Cedric Jackson out there on the field. He scored that late touchdown. So there were more targets, more snaps to go on for Jack Bech. So let's not forget that. Kaibu Kelly went down with a ruptured patellar tendon. Get well soon, Kaibu Kelly. I know we've given him a hard time about his play on the field, but as you said about Geno Smith, we don't want to see anybody get hurt. And Kaibu Kelly actually leads the team in interceptions.
Yeah.
But Kaibu Kelly goes down, so it forces Darian Porter Jr. to play. So it's not like the coaching staff all of a sudden had an epiphany and said, yeah, let's play Caleb Rogers and Darian Porter and Jack Bech. In all 3 cases, injuries were a factor in this. So if they were completely healthy at those positions, who knows if those guys are getting the same number of snaps last Sunday.
Right. And Forsyth continues to be a disaster on the left side. And it makes you understand and appreciate Colton Miller, right, who's been out with the injury as well. And at this point, we'll talk about the draft order and all that stuff in a second. But I think that you're right. I think they're forced into this. Look, I don't buy into anything. I mean, I literally mean zero, Mo, what this coaching staff says. The press conferences from Pete Carroll and the coordinator, it just kind of, I listen to them, but there's nothing new. There's nothing different that's coming out about that. There's no contrite in the voice. There's no acceptance. I mean, I think Pete Carroll now, when you're 2-11, you can't do anything but accept that you're not going to turn this thing around. But as I said on the post-game show, Mo, he's still under, because Murph was asking me, why does Pete Carroll get up there and lie like this? And I told him, I don't think he's lying. I think he's delusional. I think that he believes if he's got another year, which I don't think he should have, that he can turn this around, because that's what he's done his entire career. The difference is he's almost 75 years old, and this franchise needs to go in a different direction. It needs to go with what's going to work and what they can build on the next 5 years, not the next 2. And so that they're not congruent, right? You can't get those things together in order to do this. So to me, nothing changes. I'm not expecting the Raiders to go out and win ball games. Now we get to the quarterback situation, Mo, and we see Kenny Pickett. Everybody always loves the backup quarterback when the starter is doing poorly, as Geno Smith has done. But Kenny Pickett does come in, and look, Kenny Pickett's not a long-term answer. Don't get me wrong when I say this. But Kenny Pickett looked a little sharper. He's got a little bit better ball. He did not look rattled. Now, he hasn't been sacked a million times like Geno Smith has been either. But the Kenny Pickett thing here too, as well. Is this a situation where the Raiders, if Kenny Pickett comes in and performs better than Geno Smith, especially when you talk about getting to the Giants? Now they're playing the Eagles, and of course, the Eagles lost the game to the Chargers on Monday night in what was, as you called it, a pillow fight. The Raiders' only, in my view, realistic opportunity to win a ball game is against the Giants. If Kenny Pickett comes in and starts doing not even exceptional, I shouldn't say exceptional. If he does a good job, does that hurt the Raiders now that you're sitting there in the number 2 draft slot?
I don't want to say it will, because we saw Kenny Pickett come in basically in garbage time.
True.
Where it wasn't a competitive game. I know the score makes it look like it was competitive. The Raiders only lost by 7 with that late field goal. But let's be honest, if you watched that game, and I know you did, it wasn't competitive by the time Kenny Pickett got in. So when he's going up against a defense and a team that's trying to get out of a funk, as the Eagles are right now on their field, I don't think you're going to see the same results. Now, I think he'll be marginally better than Geno Smith because, as you said, Geno Smith has been beat up. He hurt his hand last Sunday, then hurt his shoulder and came out of the game, and that's why Kenny Pickett took over. So when you look at Geno Smith, he was throwing interceptions before Colt Miller and JPJ went down.
Right.
So you can imagine taking a bunch of hits now. He's not going to say this publicly, but he probably doesn't trust his offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is probably what Sam Darnold was experiencing when he said he was seeing ghosts on the field. I think that a lot of that is what Geno Smith is going through right now. So Kenny Pickett's not going to have that. But Kenny Pickett is still a backup quarterback in this league. And eventually the backup quarterbacks in this league show why they're backup quarterbacks. And with extended play, I don't think Kenny Pickett is a threat to ruin the Raiders' draft position this upcoming Sunday against the Eagles. The Raiders have been trounced the last couple of times they've gone east. Again, the Eagles are trying to get out of a funk. I don't like the matchup with the Eagles wide receivers against the Raiders secondary. So I think that is a major disadvantage. I know Jalen Carter's not playing because he's got shoulder issues right now.
Yeah.
But as bad as the Eagles are playing, I don't like that matchup, and I don't think the Raiders stand a chance against the Eagles. Now, as you mentioned, when they go up against the Giants, I think that is the game. And I said it 2 weeks ago. The Raiders at best are going to go 3-14, and that Giants game is probably their best chance to win, and it's at home. I know Jackson Giants looked impressive, but the Giants are a bad football team, and they have an interim head coach. So anything it could happen in Week 17 in that situation.
Yeah, it's tough. What did you make now that and despite the fact that you made some money off it, what did you make of that field goal at the end of the game? I mean, I understand why people are sitting there, whoa, wait a minute, this has gambling implications. And then you hear Pete Carroll kind of quickly dismiss it and say, hey, no, I thought we had a chance to get down there. But with 5 seconds left, there's no way you're going to kick a field goal and then kick an onside kick and have time to do anything.
So here's my take on it. I understand the perspective of let's kick the field goal, get it down to a one-possession game, and then, onside kick, try for Hail Mary. I know that's a lot, and that's a long shot.
5 seconds.
That's 1 in a million chance you can pull that off. But that's what you're trying to do essentially with enough time. What people aren't talking enough about, and why I don't think this is a conspiracy, a gambling conspiracy. Mm-hmm. People forget that Brandon Jones had a delay of game penalty. That wasn't the Raiders. That was the Denver Broncos. Yep. With the delay game penalty that allowed the Raiders to pull that off. If Brandon Jones doesn't lean on the pass catcher, for that penalty, the Raiders have no chance to kick that field goal. The only reason they had a chance to kick that field goal is because of the penalty. So unless Pete Carroll got the Broncos in on the take as well, then there's no conspiracy theory here.
No. Yeah, exactly. But I understand why people go that direction. Because it was so inexplicably there in front of you. But yes, they forget about the play before. And I believe it was Tyler Lockett or Trey Tucker. I can't remember which one, who was basically sat on and they were trying to delay the game. So yeah, that's where it does. And look, Pete Carroll doesn't need money. There no wide conspiracy there about it. So it's interesting stuff though. But it certainly made for great headlines in the betting world as people talked about it the early part of this week. So there you go. All right, we're up against our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Raiders, the draft order, what they may do, and all that. We're going to start weaving that. We've reached that part of the season now where, talking about the game, talking about player development is going to be a focus of ours. But then we'll also, in coming shows, have some guests on to talk about some of this young talent out there, because I know for most fans aren't tracking it as much as those of us who do this as part of our living, where we're watching college games a lot and we're watching college players at positions and so on. So we'll get into that as well. And then the third segment, we'll get back and we'll do your phone calls. You're with Mo and Scott. This is Silver and Black Today, Odyssey Sports Original Podcast on the radio, 1015 KDON and 840 KXNT. Stay right where you are. Hey, everybody, it's Scott Gulbransen from Silver and Black Today. And I got to tell you, every time I've worn work boots, I take those puppies off and my feet feel like they're going to fall off. I've never found a really comfortable boot until I found my friends at Brunt. Have you tried out these boots? I'm telling you, the first time I put on my pair of Omens, I could not believe how comfortable they were. I continue to wear them, not only when I'm working in the shop, which I do some woodworking at home, but also here now it's winter, so I'm wearing them out in the snow, everything. These boots are the most comfortable boot I've ever worn. It doesn't matter if you're in an oily workshop, muddy farm, or anywhere in between. I'm telling you, these Omen boots or the Marin soft toe is built for workers across varieties. Doesn't matter what you do for a living. It's not just about work boots. They offer a full range of performance gear as well, built for tough jobs. You could be heavy duty pants, weather resistant jackets. As I mentioned, it's winter where I'm at now, so you want something that's going to keep you warm and dry. These Brunt designs, they're not only durable, they're reliable, and the workwear keeps you productive in tough conditions. Brunt knows they have the best boots on the planet. So guess what? You try these boots out, I'm guaranteeing you're going to love them. If not, they'll let you try their products and send them back. You can start, that's right. You could try them on the job even. And if you don't like them, you can send them back. That's how great these folks are at Brunt. Choosing work boots used to mean choosing between comfort and durability. Guess what? Now with Brunt, you get both. And I'm not kidding you. These are so amazing. Their founder, Eric Girard, set out to make boots for working people so they didn't have to sacrifice comfort for durability. So make sure you check out Brunt. All Brunt's boots carry a lifetime guarantee. You can send them right back if they don't work. And not only that, you can get $10 off right now using the code BOWNOWS. You can only get that here at Silver and Black today. Use the code BOWNOWS to get $10 off your first pair of Brunt boots. I'm telling you, I love my black Omens. They are phenomenal. I wear them so much. They feel as light as a feather, but they're durable as heck. I could drop stuff on them. Doesn't matter. So check out Brunt. Do what 500,000 other people have done and found the difference, and check out Brunt. That's BOWNOWS for $10 off your first purchase at Brunt Boots. We're back here, Silver and Black, today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast on the radio, 105 KDON, 840 KXNT in Las Vegas. Mr. Moe Moton and Mr. Scott Gulbransen back with you, your guides through the show here, talking about some Raider football. Now, Mo, the Raiders, the upside here, where a lot of fans are, they don't really want to win games per se anymore, because right now the Raiders sit in the second slot of the 2026 NFL draft order. That means that if you look at the draft class for quarterbacks, there's 2, possibly 3 in that first round, 2 for sure. And this puts the Raiders possibly in the position for the first time in a very long time to take a quarterback at the top of the first round. You and I have talked about this a million times. I've been talking about it and debating with people online who say, no, get an O-line first. No, no, and no. Look at the Patriots. Prime example. Drake May was there before they had an offensive line. So you look at this draft order, and we talked about the schedule, how it lays out. Philadelphia obviously coming up. And then you have, of course, the Giants, the last home game there before you got to play Kansas City to end the season. Kansas City, by the way, looks like they're out of the playoffs. Something I called back early with my friend Christopher Gabriel up on KMJ in Fresno. I was on his show. Well, I think it was week 3 or 4, and I predicted they would not make the playoffs. So, yes, I got a lot of crap from people I know in Kansas City for that. But right now, that's looking like a pretty good prediction. I'm no Nostradamus, but you just kind of saw it stacking up that way. But Mo, you look at this draft order, and we fans talk a lot about the draft order this time of the year when the Raiders are where they're at. And the quarterback, let's talk about that. The argument now, last year, you and I disagreed, and you ended up being right on this, which was, as much as I like Ashton Genty, last year, getting an offensive lineman would have been probably the better move for where this team is at. Now you go into this draft still needing offensive linemen, but more importantly, I believe you need that quarterback right now. If things stack up to the way they are and nobody trades ahead of them, they would be in a prime spot to take Fernando Mendoza, who I think is the number 1 quarterback to go. I think he's going to win the Heisman. He's one of the finalists, along with Julian Sayin. Shout out to Carlsbad High School. He's an alma mater of my high school. And Jeremiah Love. So you and Pavea from Vandy. So you look at that, and I'm not out there trying to convince people. I think if you look at the data and you look at what's happening and what's important in the NFL, there's no question that the Raiders, if they're in the top 3 picks, especially here, or can get in the top 3, they need to take a big swing at a quarterback. You can get offensive linemen later. You can also hit the free agent market. And I'm not talking about an Alex Kappa free agent market. I'm talking about actual real offensive linemen. Mo, do you agree with that? Is this the time if the Raiders do finish in that top 3, top 4, should they and will they go for a quarterback?
Yes, unequivocally, yes. Some fans, I have to say this, some fans are holding on to this Jamarcus Russell trauma like it's a safety blanket. You
Oh my
gotta let
God.
that go. You gotta let that go. The Raiders have to draft a quarterback. I know some people out there say draft an offensive lineman. No, draft the quarterback. When the Patriots drafted Drake May, was their offensive line intact? Absolutely not. They didn't have Will Campbell yet last year. They just drafted him this year. They didn't bring in Morgan Moses till this year. Caleb Williams, when he was drafted number 1 overall by the Bears, did he have a great offensive line? Absolutely not. He was I think he led the league in sacks taken last year.
Yep.
And they just started to bring in offensive linemen this year. One of whom familiar with Ben Johnson, of course. They also traded for Joe Tooney. So for the people who say, "Oh, the offensive line free agent class isn't strong," you know what the Bears did? They traded for one.
Right.
They got it from the Chiefs. They're gonna. I said this before. I said this on Bleacher Report Live. I'll say it here. A bunch of guys are gonna get cut, released, traded, replaced in the draft. There are so many ways you can address the offensive line. You could do both: get your quarterback and address the offensive line in one off season. When Jay Daniels was drafted by the Washington Commanders, did he have a great offensive line, Scott? No. They didn't get Laramie Tunsil until this year. They didn't draft an offensive lineman in the first round until this year. Connerly out of Oregon. So spare me the talk about, oh, we need to build up our offensive line first. This isn't a running back. This is a quarterback. First of all, you don't even have to put the quarterback out there in week 1 if you fear your offensive line is suboptimal. Drake May didn't start right away. It was Jacoby Brissett in New England who started off behind that bad New England Patriots offensive line. So you can sit your quarterback if you're worried about that O-line. It's not like drafting a running back where if you draft the running back that high, you're expecting that running back to make an immediate impact. There's no sitting Ashton Jeanty for 7 weeks. When you get a quarterback, you don't necessarily have to start him right away. And that's my argument against drafting offensive lineman first and saying, well, we drafted Ashton Jeanty and look what he's doing behind the offensive line. Yeah, because you want a running back to start off right away. With a quarterback, you don't have to. You can start mid-season. You can start 3 quarters into the season. Jackson Dart this year did not start the year. It was Russell Wilson. Now, the Giants had a decent O-line, but they still were patient with him. So you don't have to throw your quarterback out there right away if you're that worried about your O-line.
And say what you want about Tom Brady, who deserves criticism for how this team was put together this year. Certainly, and I don't think he's getting enough of that, but he does deserve it. He has gone on the record over and over on his philosophy with quarterbacks, which is you don't rush them. So you don't have to get a guy. I don't care if it's Mendoza, who they come in. It doesn't mean they got to light it up and be rookie of the year. That's not what you're looking for. You're building long term. This thing is so broken and has been so broken for so long that another couple years isn't going to kill you. I know Raider fans want to win as soon as possible. But if you're going to do it the right way, which this organization has never done in the last 40 years, it's never built the right way. Now you have an opportunity to do that, and you have to get the quarterback. Also, Mo, it's a numbers game. There's only a certain number of quarterbacks. And for those of you saying, well, they should wait till 2027, you have no idea if you're going to finish in a place to get CJ Carr or anybody else coming out next season. You just don't know. You can't count on that. All you know is what's in front of you at the moment. And if the Raiders have a top 3 pick in this draft, they have to take a swing at it, right? They have Dante Moore, Mendoza. To me, those are the 2 guys. I would be happy with either one of them if I'm looking at from the Raiders' perspective. They both have strengths and weaknesses like every player does, but there's only so many quarterbacks. There's lots of offensive linemen. To your point about trading, they can do that. You can't do that. You need, and Mo, we haven't talked a lot about this year, but for years, you and I have beat this drum, and that is the best thing a team can have in the NFL is a quarterback on a rookie deal. That's how you can build around the quarterback, including that offensive line, including getting that defense where it needs to be, including up front, on the back end, everything by doing that. So the Raiders, to me, it's a no-brainer. Now, do they finish in that spot? I know a lot of Raider fans out there are going to say this, Mo. They're going to say, well, we're going to win a stupid, meaningless game and lose out on the quarterback again. Could happen. But the Raiders also they don't have this kind of draft capital the Jets have, by the way. You got to watch them. They're dangerous because they have so much capital. So no matter where they finish, they could probably move up to that number 1 spot if they really want to. But the Raiders also have to consider giving up a lot of value to go get their guy that they're going to invest in as their future quarterback. You agree with that too?
I agree with that, and that not just the Jets, but the Browns are going to have 2 first-round picks because of
Yes.
the trade that they made with Jacksonville Jaguars for Travis, and then the Rams are going to have 2 first-round picks because of the trade they made with the Falcons, who wanted to move up for their extra edge rusher in Pierce out of Tennessee. So the Raiders are going to have if the Raiders don't have the number 1 overall pick, they're still going to have to look over their shoulder at these teams that could potentially move up
Yeah.
for Mendoza, because it looks like Mendoza is going to garner that type of interest from teams in need of a quarterback of the future. And I would not rule out the Rams pulling this off. As I just talked about, you don't have to start
Yes.
that quarterback right away. If the Rams have 2 first-round picks, they can trade up for Mendoza and have Mendoza take the baton from Matthew Stafford when he's ready to retire. Can you imagine that handoff from Matthew Stafford to Mendoza? The Rams would be set for possibly another 15 years. So
Yeah.
the Raiders, if they're not number 1, they should still be aggressive if they want a specific prospect. Now, if they're okay with 1 of 2 prospects, you mentioned Dante Moore, then they're fine if they're at least number 2. And that
Yes.
could very well happen. One thing I will say really quick, Scott, watch out in week 15 on Sunday. The Giants are going to play the Commanders. Jay Daniels got banged up in that Commanders game. He came out toward the end. It's not a slam dunk that Washington wins that game and Jay Daniels plays. There's a possibility the Giants win that game. They're coming off of a bye, so they should be well prepared. Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, wants to prove that he could be a full-time head coach, so they're going to have the motivation to win. They already have their quarterback, so it's not like they're soft tanking over there in New York, where I am. So it's a possibility the Giants win that game and the Raiders are number 1 by the end of next weekend.
Right. And to me, that's why I think it's important that the Raiders finish no lower than 2nd in the draft order. Because to me, and again, you're right. We don't know which quarterback is the higher on their list, but I do know that those are the 2 guys. Those are the 2 guys at the top of the draft. It's Mendoza and Moore at this point. Simpson's fell down. He's not the guy I think a lot of people thought he was. Now somebody might grab him late in the first round, but you're right. And you know what? The Rams, you said, hey, how many weeks in a row now have you said, hey, put your balls on the table? Like, that's how the Rams are with McVay there. And listen, I'm picking the Rams right now as my favorite to win the Super Bowl as of right now. I mean, look, a lot can happen, but I'm just saying, but they are going all in. And you're right. They've gotten younger, except at quarterback. So they got a core there and they really want to think about that future. So yeah, you're going to have that. And so the Raiders have decisions to make. This is where putting out those young players, while it's not this isn't NBA tanking, but I think it's more important to do that as the Raiders move further into the season. And even when you get to that Chiefs game, that last game of the year where you might be playing for the 1 pick, the 2 pick, whatever it may be, you have some decisions to make there that are more long-term and not about just winning the football game there. So we'll see, but we're going to talk a lot about it, obviously, here on Silver and Black today. Now we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to get to your phone calls. It's time for the Raider Nation Switchboard. You're listening to Scott and Mo. This is Silver and Black today on 101.5 KDON, 840 KXNT, and an Odyssey Sports original podcast. Don't go anywhere. All right, it's time to tell you about our friends at Sleeper Picks. That's right. Where you been? We've been talking about it all season. You don't have the app? Are you kidding me? Go get it. And I'll tell you what, you go get it. You make a deposit to play daily fantasy football with Mo and I, and they will give you a free $100 deposit, up to $100 deposit, I should say. So if you put in $50, they're going to match it. You put in $100, they're going to match it. All you got to do is use the code GENTY. You get that code only here. Shh, don't tell anybody. You get the code here. Actually, tell everybody. GENTY. That's GENTY to get that up to $100 deposit match from our friends at Sleeper Picks. And now we're going to have Mo look at and pick Thursday night's game. Of course, it is the Falcons and the Buccaneers. Bucks coming off, both these teams coming off tough losses last week on Sunday. So, Mo, tell me what you got here, starting with the Falcons.
Starting with the Falcons, we'll go with Bijan, or Bijan, as some people pronounce his name. Bijan Robinson, receiving yards. What is the line for his receiving yards? I'll take the over on that one. The Bucks give up a lot of receiving yards, 2 running backs. They have a stout run defense,
Yeah.
but you can throw the ball with those short passes. I think Bijan is going to be very much active, especially if Drake London is still out with that injury.
Okay, he's at 36.5 yards. So we have Bijan Robinson, 36.5 yards receiving. All right. Next up for Mr. Moton.
Let's go to the Buccaneers side of the ball. Baker Mayfield will take the over on his rushing yards. Baker Mayfield thinks he's Lamar Jackson at times. And I think he's going to have that feeling against the Atlanta Falcons because the Atlanta Falcons, though they're losing, they have a bit of a pass rush. So I think Baker Mayfield is going to be on the move in this game.
That's a great pick here for Daily Fantasy. 15.5 yards. I think that's a no-brainer right there. Good call, Mr. Moton. All right, now one more pick here, buddy.
The rookie first runner, Emeka Egbuka, had a down week last week. We didn't even have 25 receiving yards. I think he has a bounce back week against the Falcons. I take the over on his receiving yard total.
Okay, they don't have the receiving yards up yet, Mo. So for him, they don't have.
How about an anytime touchdown? Is that up?
Anytime touchdown is a half, so all he needs is one.
Okay, there we go. We'll go with an anytime touchdown for Emeka Egbuka. If you don't have the receiving yards total by the time you place this bet, the touchdown will get you more money.
It will.
This 3-legger. So
yes. So this 3-legger Daily Fantasy Football on Sleeper Picks, of course. Mo's picks for the Thursday night game. Bijan Robinson, 36.5 yards. He's got the over. Baker Mayfield, over 15.5 rushing yards. And Egbuka, of course, the Ohio State product, will score an anytime touchdown. $20 on Sleeper Picks is going to net you $131.40. And then you can send Mo a nice little cookie package or something, right? For picking that game. But yeah, I like this one.
Send me a smoothie.
There you go. Avocado smoothie to the door. DoorDash it. So there you go. There is your Sleeper Picks for this week for Thursday night's game from Mo. Go get it. Don't forget, you get the deposit. You get the app. Get the deposit in, and they'll match it up to $100 using the code GENTY. So when they ask you for the code, use the code GENTY. You can get only here from Silver and Black today. Remember, rules and regulations are found inside the Sleeper app, or you can check out the Sleeper website for those. It's not available in every state, but most likely it is in your state. Sleeper Picks, proud sponsor here of Silver and Black today. Go make some money with us playing daily fantasy football. Welcome back, everybody, to Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports Original podcast on the radio 1015 KDON 840 KXNT in Las Vegas. Thanks to all of you, no matter where you're listening to us. And a reminder, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. Just look for Silver and Black today. Don't forget to rate and review. If you're watching us on video, subscribe, hit the thumbs up and that notifications bell so you know whenever we have a new video. Scott Gulbransen and Moe Moton, and we are talking Raiders with you. We're going to get to your phone calls. Interested, a lot of our listeners, Mo, seem to be, they've all moved to the acceptance part because you have no choice at this point at 2-11.
2-11.
Right? You have no choice. But a lot of them are really, I think, focused on that player development, which is why we're going to focus a show on it. So seeing what some of these young guys can do the rest of the way, but also focused on what this organization will do moving forward. So I expect the calls to echo that. What's going to happen with the coaching staff? What's going to happen with free agency? What's going to happen with the draft? So we'll see if that holds through. We're going up to the Great White North first. We're getting a lot more calls from Canada all of a sudden, which is great. Here comes Raider Roy up in Canada.
Mo, Scott, first-time caller here. My name is Raider Roy from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Wanted to give my input and get your feedback on today's game. Currently watching end of the third quarter. Again, it looks like I'm a little bit disappointed by the defense because, actually it's nothing new. I don't know what the hype is around Patrick Graham, to be honest. I understand the offense plays a big role in the fact that, our defense isn't that good. But, I mean, you have Denver backed up within the 10-yard line, and they march down the field on like a 13-play drive, So, excuse me, that's my little son here watching the game with me. I have a question for you guys. Here it is. Okay, so 2 options in the draft, okay? Either the Raiders keep Pete Carroll and you do not draft a quarterback. That would be the ultimate Raider Nation snub in history, and that's probably what could happen because it seems like us Raider Nation, where we're getting snubbed these last couple of years. Option number 2, we blow the whole system up. We get rid of Carroll. We get rid of Graham. We start from scratch. We draft a quarterback in the first round, and then Brady gets involved, and we have this 5 to 7 year plan, and everything works in our favor, and it takes time, but it's complete rebuild. What are your thoughts on that? Listen to you guys every week. Really appreciate you guys input and feedback, and I know it's hard to be Raider fans right now, but Mo and Scott, love you, man. Have a great day. Ciao.
All right, Roy up in Montreal.
Raider
Roy, and he didn't speak French to us, which was good because we wouldn't have understood it. But up in Quebec, and so we appreciate the call, man. And the little one in the background, that's all good, brother. It's all good. Mo, no question in my mind, it's option 2.
If option 1 happens, I don't know, Scott. I don't know. I may have to retire from content creation.
Raider content creation. Absolutely. It would be hard. It would be hard.
If the Raiders keep Pete Carroll and don't draft the QB, let's say the Raiders finish with a top 2 pick, and they keep Pete Carroll and don't draft the quarterback, I'm gonna blow my mind. I am not gonna be a pleasant person on draft day. We do our draft day watch when the Raiders make their pick. It's gonna be the complete opposite of my reaction when they drafted Brock Bowers 2 years ago. I swear it's not gonna be pretty. But yes, Raider boy, it's got to be option 2. But one alteration to what you did suggest with your option 2 is, I actually think they are going to fire Pete Carroll, and I think John Spytek stays. And I say that because of what we talked about in the first segment. We're starting to see his rookies produce and progress. So I don't think this was a John Spytek issue. The rookies not getting on the field, they weren't ready. I think that was a coaching issue where the coaches wanted to roll with veterans because Pete Carroll didn't know how to develop young players while losing. He said it himself that he's not used to being in a losing situation like this. So he's not accustomed to, okay, let's put in the rookies because we're looking toward the future. He's used to, let's win now. Let's get these veterans on the field because they give us the best chance to win the football game. When in reality, we all knew that the veterans weren't giving the Raiders a good chance to win anyway. But I think John Spytek is going to be safe. Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports said this, I believe it was yesterday, that Pete Carroll is on the hot seat, but John Spytek is considered safe. And I think a little bit of that has to do with his relationship with Tom Brady, who's involved with Raiders operations.
Right. And again, it goes back to what we both, I think, agree on, which was it was a mistake to bring in a first-time GM with a guy like Pete Carroll, because that struggle in the room for the two roosters in the room, this guy, Pete Carroll, is going to try to make decisions. And I go back to the press conference. Well, who makes the ultimate decision? Well, we're going to do it together. Nah, it doesn't work that way. You don't have football operations decisions made by consensus. You have to have somebody who's the shot caller, and you have to do it. So, Roy, great call, man. Thanks for listening to us. We appreciate it. And I hope your Habs do better up there, by the way. All right. Now we're going out to Boston. It's Big Hoss. Here he is. If I hit the button. There we go.
Hey, Scott and Mo. It's Big Hoss from Boston. Just calling in to say it's time. It's time to fire Pete Carroll in the season. I've never been a fan of firing, a coach of Pete Carroll's status in season, show a little respect to the man, but it's bad. It's so bad. And I think what really solidified it yesterday was the play right before the end of halftime, right before halftime, where they got a timeout, they got 7 seconds, and he's 10 yards, 4th and 4, 10 yards to get in field goal range. And they just try to draw the Denver Broncos offsides and then burn their timeout instead of trying to make a short pass. They get in the Hail Mary territory or get the first down for a field goal. They burn the timeout and then get sacked on the next play. I mean, come on. That's brutal. He's got to go. Fire anyone with the last name Carroll. Put someone in charge. Fire them at the end of the year. It's time to clean house, start fresh, give the boys in the locker room some hope.
There you go.
Pete ain't doing it. Thanks, guys.
All right, there's Big Hoss up in Boston. Thanks for the call, man. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to fire him this season. It actually benefits the Raiders for him to continue to do as poorly as he has, because again, it comes down to draft order now. But great call.
You don't want what they call that in-season bump from the interim head coach coming in and giving them energy to potentially win what fans would call a meaningless game. So at this point, out of respect to Pete Carroll, they're not going to fire him in season, I don't think. But also, I think the organization, for John Spytek specifically, assuming he thinks he's safe, he's probably thinking, well, let's just keep Pete Carroll, and it's not going well. Well, okay, we get a top 2 pick, we rebuild with a new coaching staff.
Right. Just get through this. And the one thing I'll say too is we heard with the Rossini piece last weekend about how the Raider players in the locker room are saying that it lacks direction. That's not a negative from they hate the coach like the Josh McDaniels thing. So people still, I think players still, from my perspective, he hasn't quote unquote lost them like you sometimes do with coaching issues. But it's just not working. I think there's a nuance there of things not working, but you like the guy and he's a good positive influence, but his plan just doesn't work. And so I think that's where the Raiders are. So no reason to fire him now, especially when you want to get to the top of that draft order to get that quarterback. All right. Thanks, Big Hoss. Now we're going out to Joe in Chicago.
Fellas, Joe from Chicago. Shout out Kenny Pickett for counting 2 Mississippi and then running for your life. It's almost like that guy has been paying attention to what happens in the pocket and what you can reasonably expect as a Las Vegas Raiders quarterback in the year of our Lord 2025. Unlike the guy who has been in that pocket and has been getting beat down repeatedly for 3 months. It was wild to watch somebody adapt to a situation. I'm not saying he's the answer. He's not. But holy smokes, how bad, how bad do you have to be when Kenny Pickett looks like a world beater out there? In between just basic pocket awareness and then the pass he threw, which by anybody's standards was fantastic. The one thing I've agreed with Pete on this season is the term exquisite to describe that pass. And I had absolutely no clue that we had Bo Jackson's nephew on the team. That's amazing. Anyway, yeah, it was just great. Like, this is what it's come to for this year. I'm happy to watch somebody who pays attention to what happens around him and then adapts accordingly. And it was that was the highlight of the game for me. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
Joe, I love that call, man. I mean, he's right. And that's the thing. We talk about functional mobility and adjusting to what you have on the field. And with the offensive line playing as poorly as it has and being injured and all of that, he's right. You don't see that from Geno Smith. He just kind of sticks in there. He seems unsure of himself, where to go. Kenny Pickett comes in, gets an opportunity. And again, like Joe said, we're not saying he's the answer, but it was nice to see that and see the feet move a little bit.
I think some people forget that sacks are also a quarterback stat. I think when people see sacks, they automatically say, oh, it's a bad offensive line. But if you've been watching Geno Smith, you know that some of those sacks are self-inflicted with him holding on to the football. Now, some people say his wide receivers aren't getting open. I disagree in some situations. Mark Johnson at Taped on Live does a very good job, and he's pointing out situations where Smith is just not seeing the field and not pulling the trigger, so to speak, quicker than he should be. You've seen that happen. So with the Jaguars game, with the pump fake in overtime, right? Just didn't pull the trigger, could have got the ball to Tyler Lockett in the back of the end zone. So I agree with Joe. It's good. It was refreshing to see Kenny Pickett move around the pocket, but I also think part of it is Geno Smith is also banged up. And I don't think he can move. I don't think he can move like Kenny Pickett at this stage of the season. So if you're looking for a quarterback to give you some spark, I know Raider fans want to lose some football games, but you can still lose respectively with a smart quarterback who understands the situation in his offensive line.
Well said. All right, now we're going out to Pastor Mike behind bars.
Scott, Mo, Pastor Mike behind bars. 5 minutes left in the game. And down by 14. Yeah, this game's over. I'm not mad. We're in that, Mendoza sweepstakes. Tennessee lost today. Looks like Raiders move into the number 2 pick, which I'm okay with. Never want them to lose. Always want to root. But, hey, I thought the offensive line looked better. We got to see Jack Bech more. So guys are playing their young guys. Now, I don't know. Is that Spytek telling Pete, this is what we're doing? I would hope so. And I still think Pete is gone at the end of the year. I mean, I can't see him staying, and then whole thought, I heard earlier this week that you have to give him more control and he'll be successful. Sorry, I'm going to say this, but hell no, I ain't doing that. and hopefully they don't. But anyway, you guys have a great week. Let's go Raiders.
There's Pastor Mike. And Mo, you said it earlier in the show, and I agree with you. I don't think this was some revelation for Pete Carroll, nor was it John Spytek saying you're going to play these guys. I think it was out of necessity because of injuries.
Exactly. And that's what people aren't bringing up. I saw there was a discussion on the X about, oh, maybe it was just, they felt like they were now ready. They were just ready to play. And I said, I didn't want to jump into the discussion because I was busy, but I'm thinking in my head, do you not realize that Dante Thornton Jr. is out with a concussion? Do you not realize that Kai Kelly just was carted off the field and Darian Porter had to play? That's why Darian Porter finished the game, because Kai Kelly got literally carted off the field with a significant knee injury. Will Putnam is awful at guard. JPJ is out. What are their other options other than Antonio Mafi at right guard? So they're in a position where they have to play these guys. So I'm not giving any credit to this coaching staff for playing them, because this is, in my opinion, this is a necessity, not a choice.
Right. Absolutely. Well said. All right. Now we're going out to our buddy. Hold on to your hats. Jacob in Fresno.
Oh, Jacob's back.
He's back, baby.
Get Gully, Gulbransen and Moe Moton. This is Jacob from Fresno. What's up, guys? Here we are. Week 14 in the books. 2 wins. Pretty bad. We're down bad. Once again, I'm going to say we are down bad. This is just about the worst season I've ever seen in my entire life. 2 wins. That's literally the worst Raiders season if it stands. We had Art Shell that one time, and he was one and done, right? And we're looking at Pete Carroll, a Super Bowl winning coach, and here he is, the worst showing of any Raiders coach. I think he should be one and done at this point. And guys, I want to go back and say, I think we had a guy, but we didn't have an organization around him. I think we had a coach who had potential, but we didn't want to build around him. We got impatient, and look where we are. 2 wins. So, Raider Nation, why don't you guys just zip your lip for this offseason? Let somebody else make some decisions, because we're consistently showing that we do the wrong thing, and we say, hey, Mark Davis, do the wrong thing. Because, you guys can't make up your mind. Do you want AP or do you not want AP? And you don't want AP, and here we have Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's going to say, Geno Smith's going to 2 wins. 2 wins. Here we are. Week 15. 2 wins. I don't understand it. Guys, why can't you just be happy with progress, right? Or a little bit of competitiveness. You had AP at us as the least penalized team. There was some sort of order. We were developing young talent. Brock Bowers was amazing that rookie year. He's been okay this year. He's, somewhere he's competitive. He's showing he's still at the top, but he's not that top guy. But it just seemed like things were a lot better with AP. We weren't winning. That was the issue. You have to win. And it's the NFL, not for long, right? But I just think we need to commit no matter what it is, right? But you guys tell me why I'm wrong, because I was definitely wrong about AP, right? But here we are, 2 wins. I don't understand it. Help me out, guys. Appreciate you. God bless you. And go Raiders.
There's Jacob in Fresno. Now, Jacob, I want you to pull close, real quick. I want you to pull close, dude. Antonio Pierce was not a good coach. Raise your expectation. Because it got worse doesn't mean the guy that you got rid of would have been better. Now, 4 wins, progress. I don't know about Brock Bowers is an animal. He could be coached by a group of chimpanzees at the zoo and still do what he does. Okay, so let's get that clear. Second, Antonio Pierce, no penalties. Yeah, okay. Also, no discipline, sloppiness, 4 wins. Now, Did he get a full deck handed to him? No, but he wasn't that good of a coach. What is this desire with you guys out there to go back to the last shittiest coach? Like, I don't get it. You should want better, yes. And Pete Carroll was worse. I give you that. I'm not arguing you that. But you got to have higher expectations, Mo. Okay, your turn.
For the record, I wanted Liam Cohen. I just want to put that
And
out
you
there.
did. You said, but
the-
whoa, so he sucks. He's dorky.
I for the record, I wanted Liam Cohen. The Jaguars right now are 9-4, leading the AFC South.
Oh, but they suck.
And that was my pick for head coach. Just want to say that. The other thing I'll say about this whole Antonio Pierce thing, and because I see Jacob's not the only one saying this, that the Raiders should have gave AP another year, based on giving him a quarterback, because he's been on the airwaves talking about I didn't have a quarterback, I wanted this and I didn't get that. There was misalignment. I don't
correct.
That's not his fault. They had kept that's not his fault, but clearly there was a misalignment between he and Tom Telesco. So if you had kept AP, there's no guarantee that he would have progressed, because based on what AP is saying, there was no agreement between he and the front office about keeping Josh Jacobs and what to do with some of these key positions, i.e. the quarterback, right? He said he wanted a certain quarterback, didn't get it. So keeping AP and Telesco wasn't going to go anywhere. So the Raiders had, in my opinion, had a poor structure when AP was there. They have a poor structure now. We talked about it. Inexperienced GM with an experienced head coach. In that situation, it was a head coach and a GM that just didn't see eye to eye, again, on roster management. So in both situations, the structure was poor. Regardless of who you bring in, who you hire, AP, Pete Carroll, Marvin the Martian, it doesn't matter. Until the Raiders get the structure right between their head coach and their general manager, it's going to continue to fail. They have to get that right.
Right. And again, not all of it was Antonio Pierce. I still think Antonio Pierce was not ready to be a head coach. And Jacob's point was, well, let him grow, give him a chance. It's the NFL, bub. You don't get 5 or 6 years to learn how to coach. That's not how it works. I mean, as you see how many guys are 1 and done or 2 and done, 1.5 and done, depending. I mean, it just doesn't go that way. I'm not excusing the organizational failures that attributed to Antonio Pierce failing, but he also owns it too. It's not like he just gets off the hook there. We talked about that, so I'm not going to relitigate it. But Jacob, as always, man, we appreciate your call. Thank you. All right, now going out to Chicago again. Here we go.
What's up, Scott and Mo? This is Tarek from Chicago. Woohoo! That is now 7 straight losses. We have not won a game since October 12th, nearly 2 months ago. 11 straight divisional losses, 8 straight games with under 75 yards rushing, which is the 3rd longest streak in NFL history. Unbelievable. I believe we had 35 rushing yards in this game. Again, I saw zero progress in any phase. Zero, like 0.0%. I did like that we played some of the younger guys. Caleb Rogers started pretty much the whole game. It was nice to see Betch out there for a good amount of time. Where the hell has that been all year long?
Yeah.
But listen, 4 more games to go. We got the defending champion Eagles next. Gee, I wonder if we have a chance in that one. Looks like Geno Smith is going to hopefully miss considerable time. There's a slap in the face to Pete Carroll. But to the Raiders, do not screw up your draft status with a meaningless, pointless win in your final 4 games. I don't know if they have much of a choice. This entire coaching staff has got to think that they're all going to be gone, as will many players. Mark Davis, again, you are running a circus, and until further notice, you are the lead clown. And to put salt on the wounds, 364 yards rushing and 3 touchdown passes for Shador. Yeah, you guys, when it rains, it pours. 4 more games of this madness, 4 more games of this misery. Looking forward to your shows this week. You guys have a fantastic week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, there's Tarek in Chicago. Yeah, I mean, Mo, can you answer this question for me? Who's the run game coordinator, offensive line coach? I forgot.
I think it's I'm not sure, but I think it's a relative of Pete Carroll. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
someone who is very closely related to Pete Carroll.
He's got to be nominated for an award, right?
I mean, gotta be the
done
Nepotism
so well.
Award.
That's right, the Nepotism.
Higher of the award.
It's a brown nose award. All right, here we go. Ron in Virginia is up next.
Hey, Scott and Mo. Hey, this is Ron calling in from Virginia. Just got through watching the Raiders lose another game. Well, there's good news and there's bad news. Like I said, the Raiders lost, but the good news is I think we've moved up in the draft. I think they're number 2 right now, so they can go get their quarterback, hopefully. Like I said, the Raiders are tanking. Pete Carroll just doesn't know it. I mean, they're not tanking purposely. They're just bad. They're just a bad team. But hopefully, like I said, they can maybe Mendoza's I think the number 1 pick. Hopefully, like I said, unless if Tennessee stays in that same spot, somebody might jump up. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but hopefully the Raiders can get their quarterback. But you can see that one reason Pete has to go, man. Caleb Rogers is playing pretty good, actually. You know what I mean? Like I said, Pete refused to play these guys earlier in the year, but it just seems like these guys are not bad. You look at Jack Besh; they're actually doing pretty good. Like I said, but Pete can take him. He can go. We don't need Pete around to with a young quarterback to develop in the system. We need to go out and get us another coach, not a retread. Go out and get us some young offensive-minded coach. If you can't, but get somebody else in there to develop this develop our quarterback. Like I said, the score actually wasn't. It looks good, but it actually wasn't. This was death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Denver just bullied the Raiders around. It just looks better on paper, but it wasn't. But like I said, hopefully we can pick up a quarterback, maybe Mendoza. If not, maybe the second or third option quarterback, and then maybe go all defense the rest of the draft because they really need help on all levels, man. I'm sick of watching Devin White miss tackles and look lost in coverage. Like I said, but they need a lot of help. Maybe pick up. Still haven't seen Charles Grant. We still need to see what he can do. But and one last thing I want to mention: any of these guys that are Raider fans that are talking about Mendoza's corny and everything like that, man, get a life. Really get a grip. This guy, man, is a baller, and we don't need fans like that, man. Running them off talking about this guy's corny and everything like that. Come on, man. Like you said, Scott. These are the same people that thought AP was the next John Madden. These are the same people who want to bring back Gruden, man. These guys are idiots. But, tell me what you think. Like I said, have a good one.
Ron in Virginia, one of my favorite callers. His calls are always laid out so nicely, man. He makes such great points there. So, Ron, thank you for calling in. But he's right there. And, Mo, I think, listen, this is why Pete Carroll, to me, if the Raiders do this the right way, it's Black Monday, baby. Monday morning, you wake up and you're going to hear that Pete Carroll is done and retired, whatever they want to do for him so that he can bow out gracefully. But because you got no time, you have a lot of work to do. He mentioned the defensive side of the ball, even on offense. Yes, the quarterback. Yes, the offensive line. You still don't have a number 1 wide receiver, too, right? I mean, there's a lot of needs here, Mo.
So Ron made a lot of great points. I'm gonna try to keep this as concise as I can. So I'll start off with the Pete Carroll issue and what concerns me most about Pete Carroll, especially for drafting a quarterback. I don't trust Pete Carroll developing or picking an offensive coordinator to develop a quarterback because we know for sure, because Pete Carroll has said that he had influence over the offense. Pete Carroll meddles with the offense. I don't want my 74, 75-year-old defensive-minded head coach messing with the offense. Let the offensive coordinator do his job. That's number 1. Number 2, the Raiders are going to have $107 million in cap space. So for the people saying, oh, draft this position, draft that position over quarterback, you're going to have $107 million in cap space. That's going to be the second most projected cap space in 2026. That's plenty of resources to fill your other needs in free agency or trade for players and give them new deals, i.e. what the Bears did with Joe Thuney, taking him from the Kansas City Chiefs. The other point I want to end on, the Mendoza's corny thing. I wasn't going to bring this up on the X because I didn't think a lot of people were saying this, but when I saw Mendoza's post-game interview after Indiana won the Big Ten championship, and I just looked through the comments, sometimes you don't comment on something, you just read the comments from other people. I was surprised by the number of people who's like, oh, he's not genuine. He's not a Raider. He doesn't feel like a Raider. And I'm thinking in my head, I don't. First of all, a player looking at a player say, oh, he's not a Raider. It means nothing to me because I'm
Zero.
thinking, can he win football games? I don't care if he looks like a Charger, a Buffalo Bill, a Seattle Seahawk. Is he going to get the Raiders back to the promised land? Is he going to get the Raiders back to excellence? That's what I'm looking at. Because there were people in my Bleacher Report Live who say, oh, I don't know about this Mendoza kid. Is he genuine? Is that real? Is that really him? I don't care. I don't care if Mendoza chugs milk at night, wears his pants up to his belly button. I don't care how corny he is. Has a flip phone. Apparently, allegedly, Andrew Luck had a flip phone. How great was Andrew Luck behind a bad offensive line for years in Indianapolis and helped that team be relevant? So I don't care what Mendoza's corniness, his level of corniness is. Really quick, Scott, someone made a great point. If you watch Family Matters, even Steve Urkel turned into Stephon in certain moments. So if Mendoza can tap into that when he's on the field, funny. I'm 100% okay with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I had people when I tweeted that out, it went pretty far and wide.
Yeah,
and I had people cursing at me. Nobody's saying this, dude. The internet is searchable. Go search it. And it was not surprising that these same people were the ones that were in essence agreeing with it, at least on the surface level of it. Because, and who cares? You know what? A kid's a good kid. His mother has MS. He grew up in Miami, and he's my wife been rooting for him because he's Cuban American like my wife. So she's been rooting for him all along there as well. Just a good kid. What's wrong? What if he had two women around him, scantily clad, and he was grabbing them all over the place, and they would have been a Raider? I mean, come on, let's be real. But I break it down to this, Mo. There are a certain percentage of the fan base, including the Raider fan base, and I think this goes for a lot of teams, the Cowboys, some of the bigger teams. They're cultural fans. You know what I mean? They're into the Raiders, but they're not football people. And so I think some of those people too, they want the Raiders to have the swagger, which is fine. It's great. It's part of the brand. But they see a kid like that. Oh, he's not a Raider. No, dude. If he tosses dimes and wins ball games, which the Raiders have done barely any of over the last 30 years, then he's a Raider. So
Scott,
we'll see.
Really quick, Scott, what have I said that the late Al Davis would say? What's the slogan? Just win big. To me, a Raider is someone above all who cares about winning above all.
Correct.
If you care about winning above all, you too can be a Raider.
Right.
That's it. It's very simple. It's very simple to me.
And look at Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is a nice kid, very clean cut, very quiet. Is he not a Raider? I don't know. He balls out pretty good, and Raider fans seem to love him. So I think it's the same thing. All right. Thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it, Ron. Now we're going out to Jesse in Arizona.
Hey, Scott, Mo. This is Jesse from Arizona. So I'm calling in. Raiders got the number 2 pick right now, and potentially, with the loss to the Giants in a couple of weeks, and the foreseeable losses to the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Texans, we should have the number 1 pick, hoping and praying. But look, man, I wanted to chime in on Carroll, and I think we should move on. And if it's not because of the way that the season turned out, it's by the poor judgment alone that he's had on the rookie evaluation. I mean, look at our rookie guard, Caleb Rogers, comes out there, 0 pressures allowed. You mean to tell me you've had this guy sitting for weeks because he couldn't dress? He wasn't good enough to dress. After we were sucking, we sucked, and he couldn't dress apparently. Then they discovered that they have Jack Betch on the damn team in week 14 in the second half. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, he needs to be fired because of that. And even if it doesn't matter I don't even care that we're losing and have a 2 winning record. it comes down to the evaluation for me. But I think Mendoza is the guy. Watched the game tonight or the other night. Watch him beat Ohio, and the Raiders need to pull the trigger, man. I keep seeing this debate online about they should take best player available or trade back and get a haul. I'm like, dude, you guys are freaking insane. There's no guarantee they will be this close next year, and you just got to keep taking a damn swing, man. We cannot afford to not take Mendoza or more any quarterback, honestly, at this point. But I'm obviously favor Mendoza. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. Love the show, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Ray Nation, out.
Jesse in Arizona. Yeah, Jesse, I know we've talked a lot about the subjects you mentioned, and I agree with everything you said. I can't really add to it because I think it's good. You got something, Mo?
One thing I'll add is what irritates me is every year it seems like we have this discussion. Not what Jesse's saying, but the discussion of, oh, wait till next year. Wait till next year. It's like, why do we keep kicking the can down the road? Do you want to watch Gardner Minshew and Jimmy Garoppolo and Geno Smith
Apparently,
and Aiden O'Connell for another year?
They just want to see a good offensive line with a crappy quarterback losing games, I guess, is what they want.
I've never seen it. I've never looked at a football team and said, you know what? When they drafted that offensive lineman, it really changed the franchise. When's the last time we've said that? You know, when they drafted the offensive lineman, he really put that team over the top. Now, I know offensive linemen are important and are crucial to protecting the quarterback in the run game. I get that. But you get the quarterback when you have the chance. And when you're picking in the top 3 and you need a quarterback, you draft a quarterback. No questions asked.
Yeah, exactly. All right, there we go. As our friend Baldy said 2 years ago, you got to have the quarterback. Hasn't changed. All right, last call of the show is our buddy Ross. Here's Ross.
Hey there, Scott and Mo. It's Ross again, Raider fan from 1964. Here in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. So, as the clock was ticking down, I feel like I was sort of sacrilegious. I spent all my energy today rooting for the Titans and then the Saints. In order, of course, for us to move up in the draft. And then I'm saying, go Broncos, go. So, am I a bad person? Am I a bad Raider fan? I mean, so I really, it's so hard. I want the kids to play well. Didn't want Geno to get hurt, but glad we had a substitute quarterback. My only fear now is if they have a true competition and Geno's out, that AOC may win it, and we might win another meaningless game or two. So, am I being a sacrilegious, unfaithful Raiders fan? You know, and then finally, people out there, if you had a choice, the number 1 draft pick for Mendoza, or to have Mark Davis sell the team, which would you choose? It's a close one. I like Mendoza, but it's a close one. Anyway, you guys are great, and hope I made it on the show again.
You did, Ross.
Please take care. Bye-bye.
Ross, who's been a Raider fan longer than I've been alive, was rooting for the Broncos. I don't think it's sacrilegious. I get where you're at. And no, Mark Davis will never sell a team. It's not going to happen. And when he passes away, whenever that is, hopefully many, many years from now, for his sake, I maybe, who knows what'll happen. But yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I was sort of the same way watching the games thinking, boy, oh my gosh, the Titans are winning and the Jets are winning and the Saints are winning. I was like, wow, this is good for Raider fans. They should be really happy about this.
And I will say, in fairness to Ross, he said, what would you rather choose, though? We know Mark Davis isn't going to sell, but what would you choose? Would you take Mendoza number 1, or would you rather have Mark Davis sell the team. And I'm sure a lot of people that would be a tough decision for a lot of fans out there, because every show I do on Bleacher Report, there's always someone in the chat that says, we are not doing anything until Mark Davis sells the team. Respect to Mark Davis, though. I'm not going to slander him. I will say this about the fan police, because this question came out last week. I believe Raider Beat on the X posed the question: are you a real Raider fan if you're rooting for them to lose? And I think this also came from JT the Break over at the Raider Nation radio station. I think he broached this topic as well. And this is what I was saying. I said this on Twitter too, Scott. I don't tell fans how to fan. However you want to approach Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays with your football team is your business. It's none of my business. So you can root for them, against them, for whatever reasons you want. But what I also said is, fans rooting for the Raiders to lose, for those fans, it's not them just rooting for the Raiders to lose for no reason, out of frustration.
There's a greater
They're rooting
good.
for them to lose because, yes, there's a greater good. There's a long-term plan to it, that if they lose, they get the quarterback, so then they have the future of winning. It's not like, oh, I just want my team to lose, I'm being a bad fan. Oh, I want my team to lose so that they can put themselves in better position to win football games.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm with you. I'm not telling people how to fan, but I will tell you this too. I saw a lot of complaints again online, and maybe I'm just seeing the algorithm's giving me these certain people, I don't know, complaining about the number of Bronco fans at Allegiant Stadium and how the Raiders have no home field advantage. When you suck and you don't win games, you don't have a home field advantage. Okay? If you don't like people coming into your stadium, then guess what? You have to be good. If the Raiders had 12 wins right now, okay, or 10 wins or 9 wins, there'd be less visiting fans there. Everybody wants to, people in California who are pissed that they left Oakland want any chance they can bag on Vegas, they look to do it. And there's some valid points. Murph makes some of them on his show. But the reality is you got to turn the thing around. When you turn the thing around, people want to be a part of it. They want to be at the games, and they're very expensive now, so that's part of it. But that's what changes it. It's a culture. The culture of losing means that more fans are going to be in your building than you'd like. So all this stems back to the same issue, which is organizational dysfunction and the lack of direction, right? Which goes back to the ownership thing too. So that's what has to get right for all of this to culminate, come together in what could be a good thing if you start going in the right direction. I'll leave the last word to you, Mo.
The one thing I will say is I think fans rooted in the Bay, Oakland, feel like even if the Raiders were this bad in Oakland, that you wouldn't see this type of presence from the opposing team. And I tend to agree with that sentiment, that because Raider fans in Oakland have seen some bad football teams and still have shown up more than they are showing up in Las Vegas with the move. And I understand why, because with the move and a new football team coming in, you have to win to attract a new fan base in a new city. So I get that side of it too.
But also, Mo, nobody wanted to go to Oakland. Sorry. For those of you that live there, no offense. There's beautiful areas up there in the East Bay. I almost bought a house in Walnut Creek. I know the area well. You get down into Oakland, and a lot of listeners here, guys that I know for years and years, would go to Oakland. The cars would be broken into at the hotel and all this kind of. So again, it's a different environment, and that's part of. But I agree with you. I think, but then it becomes okay. So you're happy that you're in misery and you have company, right? But now you're in a new place. You're not winning, and all these other people want to come into your brand new, beautiful Taj Mahal of a stadium. So I get it, but I think, again, get the organization on the right track, and that's a big if, then I think all this stuff takes care of itself as it moves down the line. I understand, and I respect, I want to say that too, I respect the history in Oakland, the fans there, the memories they had there especially are huge, and so I'm not in any way dumping on that. So that's the way it goes. All right, Mo, we have a couple minutes left here. Tell everybody what you got going this week before we see him again later in the week.
I actually have a Mendoza Mania draft watch piece over at Sports9. We're going to switch it over to the draft. We're going to go full in on the draft. I'm all in on Mendoza Mania. That's what I'm calling it. There's usually a clever tank for whatever quarterback you want to pick. I'm going with Mendoza Mania. right? That's what I'm going with. So, and of course, Bleach Report Live, I will be on early because the Raiders have a 1 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff game against the Eagles in Philly. I wanted to go to that Philly game, couldn't make it because I have a bunch of stuff going on at Bleach Report, as you know. But I will be doing the post game after that win, lose, or tie.
There you go. Yes. Early East Coast game for the Raiders, which for those of us in that time zone, it's kind of nice in some ways. It changes things up, but it means an earlier night, at least for me. I know for you, it's a late night anyway, Mo, but there you go. All right. We appreciate you guys being with us. I want to shout out to our producer on the radio, Mr. Mark Bonilla. Also, our producer here at Odyssey, that is Mr. Mike Robier. And thank all of you for being with us. And Mo, my man, I will see you next time. Be good.
Take care, Scott. Take care, Raider Nation.
All right, for everybody here at Silver and Black today at 1015 KDON, 840 KXNT, and Odyssey Sports, we thank you for being part of the show. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And also, if you're watching us on video, do that. Thanks for all the comments there as well. We appreciate all of you, including all the callers on the switchboard today. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon, Raider Nation.